That is an actual ship that's in the movie. It's like a TIE fighter, but it's all black, and it's got this red stripe, like it looks like a racing TIE fighter or something. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Well, because it was what Force Friday, which was their big toy launch. So
Right.
there was a lot of spoilers, like, oh, this character, we haven't seen him in the trailers, but apparently he's in the movie. So there was a lot of that where people learned of, characters and vehicles and stuff. So that's another thing I've been fortunate enough to avoid. Not that I would care either way. Like,
I
oh,
think
it's just ship.
I think you're safe because when they in these toy lines, they have characters that are very clearly not going to be in the movie in the toy lines. So I don't think it necessarily goes one way or the other. Like there's like a General Grievous toy, but I'm pretty sure General Grievous is not in the movie, and like neither is Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. But they have action figures in the toy line and stuff. So
So it's like classics.
yeah, they're just whatever they can. Like there's a shit ton of Darth Vader merchandise, and I remember seeing his melted mask in the trailer, and I'm pretty sure I remember him
Ooh,
being on fire in Return of the Jedi, his dead
Jesus.
carcass lying there. So I'm relatively sure he's not in the movie, but how can you not have Darth Vader in your merchandise line?
Yeah.
It's
Even
dumb.
though
You can't.
even though they got rid of George Lucas, they kept him around for merchandise reasons. They're like, well, how do we do it, George? And he was like, you just sell all the things.
Yeah, you take the guy from the background of that one scene and you make him a special edition action figure.
We'll cut the ears off Jar Jar and put a helmet on him, and he's a stormtrooper with a flamethrower. We have flamethrowers now.
My 5-year-old was playing Lego Star Wars on my mom's Kindle Fire or something, and he kept calling Jar Jar she. Because there's like a level where you're Qui-Gon and young Obi-Wan and Jar Jar, and you switch between them, and he would pick Jar Jar, and she can't jump. I need her to jump on here, and I'm like, it's actually a man. I said, can he
Well,
just fall off the cliff and then you don't have to deal with him? But no, he just has infinite lives and just respawns next to you.
look, we never saw the Jar Jar dick. All right,
It's true.
there was no Jar Jar junk in those movies.
Maybe they're neutral.
Maybe. Plus, his voice was really high. I understand that. It's like, woo, what's the what's supposed to be? Yeah, okay, it's a girl, sure.
Oh, that was brutal. That was brutal.
Speaking of people that I wish didn't exist, Damon Wayans said some shit this week, Jim.
He did.
Damon Wayans, who I've never had strong opinions either way on Damon Wayans or really any of the Wayans. But Damon Wayans comes from a different time, it seems. And he said some stuff about the Bill Cosby controversy. And before, I think we're going to play it. But beforehand, I have to say, he's probably one of those guys that idolized Bill Cosby, you know? Probably thought, I'll defend Bill Cosby no matter what. And then all this shit happened. He was like, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of comics did from his era. It'd be hard
Yeah,
not
but
to.
even David Wayne's coming up as a young black comic. I'm sure he fucking idolized some Bill Cosby. But let's go ahead and play what Damon had
I'm
to say.
I'm gonna play the clip right now. Now I haven't seen it yet, so this will be my fresh reaction. And the clip, I don't know if I should say where the clip's from, if it'll get us in more or less trouble for playing a clip from another site. I don't know. Here it is.
If I was him, I I would divorce my wife, wink wink, give her all my money, and then I would go to a deposition. I'd light one of them 3-hour cigars. I'd have me some wine and maybe a Quaalude, and I would just go off because I don't believe that he was raping. I think he was in relationships with all of them. And then he's like, you know what? It's 78. It don't work no more. I can't get it up for any of y'all. Bye, bitches. And now they're like, oh, really? Rape. Because, I mean,
So you think he had
40
50-year
years.
relationships?
40 years. You listen, how big is his penis that it give you amnesia for 40 years?
Well, no, in all fairness, some women did come out previously. Some
40
women
years
did
later.
did
Huh?
go ahead previously and come out and give their stories, and we didn't hear. There's a couple of them
Right.
that did, a couple of decades ago. So
Yeah, but
he
if you,
never was charged with anything.
right, but if you listen to them talk, they go, well, the first time, bitch, how many times did it happen?
Yeah.
Just listen to what they're saying. And some of them really is unrapeable. When you look, I look at them and go, no, he don't want that. Get out of here.
But
Go on, get up, get out of here.
Wow. Okay. So that was something.
Yeah, that's probably not good for his career. Not that he was on top of the world or anything, but
No, he definitely wasn't. But that's the unrapeable comment at the end. Like the rest of it was basically just his opinion. And I'm not one of these guys that's like, you can't make a rape joke. Well, you can if it's gonna be funny. But that didn't sound like a joke.
yeah,
Like, none of that sounded like, it wasn't like him on stage like doing a bit.
It did sound like a bit, like a bad '80s bit. And now
Right.
that you mention it like that, I wouldn't be surprised if it is something he said in an act or was working
yeah,
on. Like
maybe.
tonight, I'm going to say this in Tempe.
Right.
You know. Yeah, but those were that's not a good stretch for him. The line, "I don't believe he was raping. I believe he was in a relationship with all of them." He was all right.
Well, I think if you want to get technical, you're in a relationship with someone if you're raping them, right?
That's true.
You're in a rapist victim relationship. Like, relationship is sort of a broad term that can be applied to a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a good relationship. But yeah, now that you mention it, it's probably bad jokes that he's telling, like, oh, how big is his dick? It took you 40 years. You have 40-year amnesia from big dicks. It's like, what? What are you saying?
Right. Yeah, and it got him news coverage, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it was that video that showed, because it's like a radio thing, and the other people there like hosting it are just laughing like, that's great.
Well, the
and
woman wasn't.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like deep down, like if that's just the thing they have to do, like, oh, that's great, you're so funny, but inside they're like, this fucking guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
'Cause I hate when they placate the people like that and they just go along with it just because it's like, hey, he's in his zone. We got to make with the yucks on our shitty radio show. So, ugh.
That's sort of what I hate about radio. I used to love radio. There's a few shows I'll still listen to, and they're on AM. They're talk shows. One of them is really funny. But, like, I used to listen to morning talk radio, like zany morning show crap when we were younger. And I used to like it. But you listen to it now, it's so contrived and forced, and all the fake laughs.
Yeah.
In formats like that, what they do, they get a comic on, and they want the comic to do funny stuff. They don't want to just talk to you about stuff. They'll ask you, and I don't know this. I'm not a comic, and I've never been on a radio show, but I've heard comics talk about it, being on a morning radio show or something, where they want you to, okay, they're going to turn to you, and now they want you to say, like, part of your act or do, like, a funny thing. They're not just asking for your honest opinion on stuff. So who knows the setup to that? I didn't see the setup to that clip. I'm not trying to defend Damon Wayans at all.
Yeah, but they do kind of set you up.
Right.
Whether it's you're about to say something funny or controversial, to just fucking say something. Oh, yeah, that's great. 9/11 was an inside job. Yeah, keep going.
Right, yeah. The Illuminati. Tell us more about the Illuminati. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and any time I see clips like that, it's never someone saying something not controversial. Otherwise, it never would have made the rounds on the internet.
Yeah. Like, even if it's funny, it still rarely makes rounds. Like, one thing that does exist on YouTube is there's a lot of Patrice O'Neill radio stuff, because he would always be on Opie and Anthony,
Yes.
or whatever the fuck. And, like, those never were newsworthy, because he wasn't just like, fuck white people, they're the devil, or
Right.
whatever the fuck. They would just have a good time, and they would say outrageous, funny shit, and that's not newsworthy. But luckily, a lot of it didn't, stick around via YouTube. And there's just like hours upon hours of Patrice O'Neill just being so fucking funny.
I listened to
on
some of
shitty
that the
radio
other
stuff.
night. It's weird you brought that up.
Yeah, like there's one clip that I haven't watched yet, but it was just like, here's 4 hours of Patrice O'Neill talking about movies, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch the shit out of this. Whenever I have 4 hours.
It's been a long time, a lot longer than I realized since he died.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
But it feels like it was recent. It just, that's what happens when we get old. Shit just blasts past you.
Or blast through you if you have digestion issues.
That's true. Oh my God, I had one of those encounters earlier. It was brutal. I shouldn't eat eggs, but they taste so good.
Eggs just go right through you.
Yeah, yeah. It's just they come out all wrong. You know, we'll just leave it. We'll leave it at that. They don't
They
come.
come
They
out
don't come
very
out right.
scrambled.
They don't come out right. But these shows that I used to listen to, it's weird when like a show I used to listen to a long time ago, it came back. And
Which one? You can say it, Man Cow? Some
yeah, it was
Cow?
Man Cow. And I remember back in the day when I was like 12, how he would make fun of there's another show called Eric and Kathy that's on. It's like an adult. It's like a chick station almost. I would call it. And he would make fun of them.
Light.
Yeah, like light music. Like it's modern. It's like top 40 stuff, but they don't go.
And
They don't go
probably-
heavier than like Maroon 5.
Like light personalities.
Yeah, but it's weird because when I was younger, I used to totally buy into his bullshit about how their show is so fake, and his show was just as fake. And then he's like, hey, all the fake laughing and stuff that they do, and then he was one of the like the black helicopters are coming for me, like he's one of those fucking
Oh, yeah,
nuts.
he's-
and he's back on the air now, and I'm listening to his show, and every other word out of his mouth is followed by in the background. You hear like 6 people all panned around you laughing at shit that's not even remotely funny, and they won't stop laughing. And then I turn on Eric and Kathy, and they're just talking like normal people. No one's laughing. There's no fake laughter. I'm like, wait a minute. Was this flipped this whole time, and I just bought his bullshit 20 years ago? Like,
It's like, granted, these two adults might not be saying the funniest things, but
yeah.
it's still
It just
legitimate.
I'm burned out on radio altogether now with that, and I listen to podcasts a lot lately, and they're just so much more organic. Like we're the better option. Listen to us.
Yeah.
Put us in your playlist, and we don't have to compete. Like we don't have to compete with someone else's time slot or whatever. You just throw us in your playlist and listen to us whenever you want.
Listen whenever you want.
Hey, we're creeping up too. What is this? 252?
252.
That's pretty impressive. We've been doing this for almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years next month.
That's a lot of years.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of years. Yeah, but Man Cow, there was a stretch, I think it was last year, where the Man Cow producers were like, we want to put comedians on our show. So all these local comedians, friends of mine and shit, would get up at, 3 in the fucking morning and go and do the Man Cow show. And I was invited to do it, and I was like, no, I won't do that. Especially after, like the first couple appearances of these people, and they would just come back and tell their tales of what it was like to be on the Man Cow show, and they're like, it's a fucking nightmare.
That's what I heard.
They're like, it was so fucking stupid.
I heard it was. I heard it from a band. I'm not going to name the band, but from what I remember, this band they were kind of like fans, like they kind of dug Man Cow from back in the day, and so they were looking forward to it. And we had been asked when I was in Blackened to do something on his. This was before he was back on the radio. He was just doing his TV show thing, which was like it was a radio show, but they would tape it and air it like late at night on TV or some shit. Recently, so I don't know if that's what you're talking about or his radio show that's on now.
It depends on when this radio show came back on. I think it was radio though, because they at least did it at so fucking early.
Right? Yeah, that's what they said. They said you got to get up super early. You go in there and you get all set up, and they would just like, now we're gonna go to the band, and they'd play like 10 seconds of a song.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, we're not doing that. I'm not taking off work and getting up at 3 in the morning to go set up in a studio to play a piece, seconds of a song, like once every couple hours or however often it was. And I'm like,
yeah,
there's no way I'm doing that.
as he throws to commercial.
Right.
Yeah, fuck that.
We did something before for Q101, and it actually went well, right? But it was sort of misleading. I don't know if I was just misled or if the whole band was told a different thing or something. But I thought we were going to be on the radio for the White Sox opening day. And we were there. They had the radio show there, and we were setting up while they were doing the show. But then we played at the end of the show. So the show's been over, and the hosts were still there, and they introed us and stuff when we played like 5 songs. But we weren't on the radio playing, and they didn't talk to us